And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Got Dreams podcast. We've got an amazing show for you today. Ted McGrath is here, creator of 5 Household Brands, teaches coaches, speakers, and service-based business owners how to turn their message into millions and create impact. We're here to talk about artists, entrepreneurs, people who want to create real impact in their lives. And we've also got an amazing special guest for you today. We've got Nick Nanton. He is an Emmy award-winning director, brings heart and hope to every conversation he has. Welcome, Nick. Welcome, Ted. How you guys doing?
We're good. I mean, we're all in Florida, so who knew, right? All three of us are in Florida. When does that happen, right? So
maybe our internet connection will be better. I don't know. We'll see.
I know, right? And Nick, and that's right. You played tennis growing up, and I played tennis growing up. I forgot we had this conversation. We must have. What did we meet? 8 years ago or 7 years ago, man? At Raul's event, was it?
Yeah, it was a while back. Yes, but yeah, I recalled the tennis conversation. But yeah, it's been a while.
Nice, man. Well, welcome to the show. So I wanted to have you on because you're an artist and you're an entrepreneur, and I know that you're an Emmy Award winner and you've produced and directed some just amazing stuff. So first, I want to tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing right now as an artist, and a little bit about the journey, because we have a lot of people who are interested in becoming artists, and they don't necessarily know how to monetize what it is that they're doing. And you're somebody who's done success with some of the highest levels, and you've produced and directed some shows on Broadway and off Broadway. So I'd love to hear about the journey of how you made it to where you're at.
Yeah, I'll try to make it as articulate as I can and as helpful as I can, rather than just who knows, right? But I will say, most of us, right, the journey we're on, most of us don't take the time to go back and honor the moments that really, and the decisions, good and bad, that led us to where we are today, and the people in our lives who really gave us a break. And so one of the things I find that just most of us don't do that. So it's just sort of like, here I am today, I ended up here. And so what I'll try to do is recount some of the important things I think that really, that made my journey what it is. First of all, I started playing music as a kid. I had uncles and cousins who were very musical. I started playing guitar at 6. I started songwriting at the age of 16, put out my first record at 18, which are still about 800 copies under my parents' bed. Why? Because I didn't know how to market then. And now that I know how to market, I want them to stay there.
Right.
But I've always been, I wanted to be first I wanted to be an artist, right? I wanted to be the singer. I wanted to be, I want to be an artist, like a musical artist. And then I realized, look, by 17, 18, I realized I did some stuff in college. I fronted some bands. I did some stuff. I can hold a tune, but no one's really going to die to hear me sing. It's like a realistic realization, right? And not that I probably couldn't have pushed to find my voice that way some more, but to me, it became not my dream anymore. And I really, I want to be a songwriter, right? And I want to be a record producer. I realized that you know what? I love the creative process. I actually, one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, says there's 3 types of people who make it up, people who make it real, and people who make it recur. Right. And what people don't realize in the world of music, many other things too, Broadway and other things, you really become in the business most of the time of making it recur. You got to do it over and over and over. One of my good friends and clients, Stan Lynch, he's a drummer from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He calls going on tour, when he used to go on tour, he calls it going to the mailroom. And it was just you're going in the trenches, man. You're going to play the same damn songs over and over and over every night. And it's what you do. So I really loved making it up and making it real. And that's still really where I thrive. And so I couldn't articulate it at the time, but I now have that realization. Right. So I started songwriting and producing in college mostly. And I did a lot of it, and I went to law school. My parents were immigrants. My parents told me and my brother, look, you do anything you want in life, just get a profession. And my brother and I both said, no, thanks. Well, then this guy goes to medical school, right? My older brother. So I got to do something. There's no way I'm getting into medical school. So I'm like, a lot of CEOs and record label presidents are lawyers. I'll go to law school. I was finished with undergrad in 2.5 years. I didn't graduate until the end of the third year to keep my scholarship money. So I did my last semester in an independent study in blues guitar with a professor who told me to leave him alone. And so it was great. So I could keep my scholarship dollars. But so as I was in law school, people kept asking me to manage their bands. So I realized, like, I'd been an entrepreneur my whole life. I was running a t-shirt printing company that I did all the t-shirts for fraternities and sororities. I knew how to make money. I was managing bands. I was running a recording studio, but I really cut my teeth on the art and business of music in law school, and had some mild successes in songwriting and producing, and had a couple songs on the radio and college radio and some other things like that. But I really realized what a freaking hard business it is. Like a really, really, really hard business. And I had a mentor at the time who's still my business partner. We went into business together in 2002. So he's still my business partner 20 years later. He's 30 years older than me. And he's like, dude, this business is really freaking hard. And so he basically said, hey, why don't you do the same thing you do for bands and musicians, which I was basically building their brands. I was helping them find their sound. I was helping them create their albums. I was helping them launch their records. I was doing a bunch of business stuff, but it was like creative business stuff. He's like, do that for entrepreneurs and you'll be a lot happier. And you'll make some money. I was like, sounds great to me. And by the way, I had my first son by this time. I got married after my first semester of law school. My wife and I celebrate our 20-year anniversary here in 2022. I had my first son a week after I took the bar exam. So like life was on full throttle.
Right.
I've built that life for myself. So I don't, it's what I tend. If you put me on a desert island, I'm going to find a way to put my life in full throttle. Right. So just to sort of wrap this part, I realized like I never wanted to leave the art side of what I loved of like creating, but I had a harsh reality of like, if you want to support a family, you want to be an entrepreneur, like you really need to, you need to pivot, right? I sort of hate that word because it gets overused, but you need to take your skill set. You need to be realistic with what is it going to take to make some money, like real money. And so how can I create a business that I still enjoy and I still get to create? And so I made that decision. We built our agency called the Celebrity Branding Agency, taking what I'd learned from Hollywood and music and my business partners, extensive experience in personal branding and direct marketing, and combined those two. And we built an agency that I still have today. I don't run it as actively, but 15 years later, done $50 million in sales. I'll take a break, but at some point, and we could talk about it, I basically got that business up and running and did what any artist, creative person would do. And I said, now I'm making money. How do I get back to creating the art I wanted to create in the first place? Right. And that's when I Googled how to win an Emmy. It's a true story, and followed the directions. And then I got back, I'd always been songwriting, and I'm doing more songwriting than I've ever done now. And we could go into any of those things. But I would say the first important thing was finding a mentor who saw my skill set for what it was and didn't try to change me, but also said, hey, Nick, let's look at the harsh realities of this business. I know you want to be you've been an entrepreneur since selling candy in middle school, whatever, right? And so you are, but how do we make you some money so that you can support your family and not go broke, but not lose your dreams? And I think that like a lot of people, that's my journey. I didn't want to go broke. I didn't want to make my family struggle and starve. So I'm like, okay, how can I find some sort of some way where I feel like I'm still being creative, I'm still utilizing my unique abilities, but I'm doing something slightly different than I set out to do.
That's awesome, man. So a couple of questions. I have 3 questions. One, so what is we'll write them down and we'll take them one at a time. So what does make it up and make it real mean to you? Right.
To me, it's like, I love the process of like, let's create something new. Let's make up something that's never been done before, or let's make up a new song. I got an angle on this thing. I got whatever. So let's make something up. Let's be creative. Let's make something up. And then let's make it. So like, that's the inspiration, right? Like, I think a lot of people, probably most everyone has something that you dream about, right? So to me, make it up is the dream. It's like you wake up in the middle of the night, you want to wake up your spouse or partner because you're so damn excited about it. You learn later in life not to do that. But you like, that's the moment of inspiration where you're so excited. You're making something up. Like, let's do this. Then you have to decide, like, let's make it real and make it real. To me, what has been the most fun about my directing career, because I don't even know what a director does, by the way. Like, I have no idea. And I've directed 65 documentaries. To me, it's really been the self-awareness to realize, what am I good at and what am I terrible at? Like, I could run a camera, I can write. I don't wake up going, I cannot wait to press record on the camera. I don't wake up going, I can't wait to write this story. I don't wake up and go, I can't wait to edit this film. So I don't do any of that stuff. I just bring the best people into the room together. And it's a songwriting analogy. When I first started songwriting in Nashville, it's the best in the world. And a mentor of mine's like, hey, Nick, here's the deal. I know you have ideas. That's why you've been invited to this room. You've got great ideas, and you have pressure as a songwriter to come in with the best damn ideas. Like, you got to have them, right? So you keep a notebook, and now I keep a note list on my phone of hundreds of ideas. So I'm never caught off guard. But he said, but here's the deal. The reason everyone else is in that room is also because they have great ideas. So if you want to write the best song today, write the best song in the room today. Don't be stuck on your idea, right? You might throw out an idea that leads to another, leads to another. Don't get caught up on this idea you've been obsessing on. Write the best song in the room today. So for me, directing is having the best conversation in the room today, letting everyone bring their talent to the game. So to me, making it real is building a team of people who are like obsessively driven to be the best at what they do and staying out of their way. And then coming out with a final product that you're all really happy with, and knowing where you're not competent. When I've done one Broadway show. I'll see if it will work. I'll see if I can show you the Broadway poster here.
Show it to us.
You can sort of see it over there. That's a 6-foot Broadway
poster.
poster.
These trophies up here, buddy.
Those are a few of the Emmys. That's it's not all of them, but that's a few of them. This is sort of my memorabilia room in my podcast space.
How many Emmys have you gotten?
22.
Wait, dude. Okay, we're gonna hit that topic in a second.
So we'll hit that. But point being, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I had seen Mike Tyson's one-man show on Netflix, actually, and I was fascinated. I go, Rudy could do this. Could do this.
Right.
And so, but I'd never done a Broadway show before. So I went and found people who'd done Broadway shows before. And I knew I had a great idea, but I had to build a great team or I was going to crash and burn. We did a one-night stand because I did not want to lose my life savings. I had some friends help me with funding it. We sold out in 43 minutes. We packed the place. We got great reviews, and I'd love to do it again, but I knew what my shortcomings were. So making it real.
Nick, how much did it cost to produce that night?
Oh gosh, a couple $100,000. It was a couple $100,000 to do it right.
Yeah.
And so making it real to me is building a team of people and being self-aware enough to know what you can bring to the table, but what you need help with.
Amazing. So let me ask you this. You said earlier on, like, why your mentor said it's so hard, the business. Like, why is the business so hard? Right? Because when I look at business in general, a lot of people say that about any industry. Building a business is hard. Why is this one so uniquely different in the world of art?
Because the royalty structures of songwriting and music have shifted so drastically that there used to be, a mechanical royalty of 9.8 cents per song per album sold, goes to the songwriters and publishers. It was very clear math. Sold 1 million records. Here's what's going to happen. Get this much radio play. Here's what's going to happen. Through the freeing of music through Napster and other things, which I'm not mad at. I think that's part of the evolution of the industry. Just all the math changed, and from my point of view, I mean, technology companies really took over the math. Now the problem becomes no one really knew how this was going to shift things. In the end, the major record labels and publishers also ended up intelligently buying into these technology companies, right? Spotify and these other things. So the math was worked out essentially on sort of the tech side and the label side, but in a lot of cases, the artists and the writers weren't really fairly represented there. And so at the end of the day, the math is just very different. So you have to have I have a song that I wrote. It was me and 2 other guys. And it has 1.6 million streams on Spotify right now. Now for streaming, those aren't insane numbers, but it's good numbers. I mean, I know 1.6 million people have gotten far enough through the song. It counts as a listen, right? So they've heard at least a verse, chorus, whatever. Okay, I've made, think I've made like $12 from that song. Like, okay. And so that's not atypical. And by the way, I'm not even mad at the math, because if I'm paying $9 a month for I think it's $15 a month for me and my 4 other family members to have unlimited access to all the music in the world. Like, I get it that 1.6 million streams is not worth its subscription dollars divided up, but the math ain't quite right. So that's complicated. It's supposed to shift here. There's some laws, but they're still fighting over it. But that's reality. I'm gonna be the umpire. A friend of mine, Dean Jackson, who's a brilliant marketer, also is a tennis player. Yeah. He said one of his best pieces of advice is like, in every competition, the ball that goes in, the ball that goes out, someone's going to be happy, someone's going to be sad. It's just the way it is. So just be the umpire. Just look at how it is. So I'm just going to be the umpire. The math is what it is for now. So really all the money in music is in touring right now and merch. And there's so few people who can command the millions of people to come see them. But there's cottage industry, by the way. I have some friends killing it on Twitch, doing live music twice a week.
What did you call it? Cottage industry, did you say?
Yeah. There's cottage industries popping up, and there's ingenuity.
What does that mean, cottage industry?
There's small groups of people who are figuring it out in different ways. So the way the music business was, I was not willing. I didn't want to tour 100 days a year. I didn't want to tour 200 days a year as talent or as a manager. And it's just, so the opportunities for making money in music became smaller. For the goals that I had, where I knew a lot of songwriters who were making hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 90s and early 2000s. And I have a friend who has multiple number ones. He's made a few $100,000 total. It's good living, but not what it was. Right. So it's just, the music business has just shifted, and it just seems harder than, like, if I'm going to do, it's a business of masses. If I'm going to be in the speaking business or the consulting business, and I want to make $100,000 a year, I got to find 10 people to give me $10,000. Like, as a business proposition, it seems easier because I'm going to help you make more money. There's a value proposition. Entertainment is, I'm going to help you have more fun. Now, I probably have some limiting beliefs baked in if I look at it. If you're an artist with ingenuity and you can help a business owner figure out how they're going to make more money if you are the artist at their annual event, so you're going to charge $10,000 to them or $20,000 and do that. I mean, there's ways, right? But just the traditional methods of looking at it, the math was really hard.
Right. And it's interesting. Like, you're a very interesting guy in terms of your intelligence, because, like, when particularly both sides, like your artist and your entrepreneurial, but to me, like, an entrepreneurial person asks the question, let me figure out how you win an Emmy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you have a very fascinating mind. Let me figure out how you do it and let me go do it. Whereas the stereotypical artist, right, doesn't think like that. Right. And I'm not saying all artists don't, but you do. So you've got this entrepreneurial artistic thing. And my viewpoint is, wow, okay, well, you've created freedom financially because you know how to make money. You're doing your art as well. You've got the best of both worlds, right? That's where I'm at as well, right? I've created freedom financially. I'm doing my art as well. So you got an interesting perspective on the world. So when you started to think of, like, how do you win an Emmy? Like, what did you learn from that? Like, you asked that question. Number one, how do you win an Emmy? And number two, like, what did you learn from that whole journey?
Yeah. So I was on an airplane. I distinctly remember it. And I had been to 10 Grammys in a row, or by that time, maybe 7 or 8. I was a voter on the Grammys. I'd done a lot of work in music, and I like I said, I have songs on Spotify, and I have one coming out on the radio in Canada and all this stuff. But I was just saying, look, I've always aspired to figure out, like, how can you be the best at something? And to me, that's an aspiration and a goal, but I also realize, like, that's just me. That's me driving myself, but it's not necessarily the most important thing, truly the most important thing. And it can sound trite, but I think those of us who've traveled to some of the highest levels, I've got a long way to go, but it truly is about contributing to other people in their lives. Like, how can I make the biggest impact on other people? And when you do that, everything else really does just flow. Again, we've all heard the quote, if you help those people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Like, but it's not really about that, but that was just a goal of mine. I'm like, I really still have the goal to win the Grammy for Song of the Year. Like, that is on my goal list, like my dream list, like just self-actualization. But it wouldn't matter that much if that song didn't inspire a bunch of other people to do something great, right? So, or to heal from a wound, and we could talk about all that because that's why I love songwriting. But I was like, you know what? Winning a Grammy just doesn't seem like it's in my future, at least not my near future. Like, what else could I learn? What else? So like, maybe I could win an Emmy. Like, what would that take? And again, I'll mention Dan Sullivan. I always give credit where it's due. I don't name drop, but I give credit where it's due. Dan Sullivan says,
a great guy. Yeah.
He's amazing. I did his documentary too, one of my great mentors. And Dan says, look, when you set a big goal at what Vern Harnish and others and Jim, I don't remember his name right now, but a big, hairy, audacious goal, BHAG, right?
Yeah.
Like when you set that, like the goal is really important, but actually you find that when you set out to accomplish something like that, the strategic byproducts that Dan Sullivan calls them, the things you learn and the people you meet along the way, arguably become way more important because you gain new capabilities and you do this all over again. Or you might find out the main goal wasn't the goal anyway, because that's like most of the time we don't know what it takes. We don't like whatever. So I said, what would it take to win an Emmy? I just said, you know what? Success leaves clues. There's people who've done this before. I just Google how to win an Emmy. And I literally found a document where one of the Emmy organization chapter heads had said, people ask me all the time, how does this work? And she laid out very clearly, like, here's the deal. You got to have a great story. That's where it all starts. Like everyone now, even at this time as 2011 won my first Emmy, but I was starting to look in this 2010. By that time, we had Canon come out with that first DSLR camera that like almost everyone could get cinematic quality film. And we won our first 5 Emmys on still camera on Canon DSLR still cameras that shot video, right? And so they're like, everyone has access to tools now, digital editing, like so we expect the production to quality to the very least not distract from the film. It doesn't have to be like insane quality, but the story's got to be told really well. So start there. So that's really what I remembered. And then there's a process for winning awards. Like people don't think about it. Like you should always be looking for like, what awards could I win? Because people pay attention to that. Like the world pays attention. It is a form of external validation. Right. So I just started looking, like when I was songwriting, when I didn't know what to do, I was like, well, what awards could we win? Because awards lead to network, lead to meeting people, lead to credibility, which gets you open doors. Like that's what it was for me. And so it's like, okay, great. And what you'll find is that any award that you want to win, you could pretty much call the office of the award and ask questions and ask who wins this award? Why does this award get won? How do people get disqualified? Because I found out the hard way that I had not won a bunch of awards because I entered the damn wrong category. And it was mostly in songwriting because I just didn't know how to enter the awards. I just didn't have experience. I was flying and so from my experience now with mentoring, I'm like, oh shoot, there's people who know how to do this. So you can literally call any office that runs an award and ask them, help me. Hey, would you tell me which category I should enter in? They're like, oh, no problem. Because that's literally their business. Right. So then it turns out now my brain's looking for a great story. Like that's all I'm looking for in life is a great story.
Right.
I sit down in the Midway Airport in Chicago next to this guy. He flips open his laptop and there's a picture of a little boy holding a baseball bat, grinning ear to ear, just holding it like this. And it's very clear to me. I have a couple family members who have Down syndrome. Very clear the kid has Down syndrome. I just say to the guy next to me, man, is that your son? That's a beautiful kid. He goes, yeah, it is. You know, he's our youngest. He has Down syndrome, but man, he's a blast. And we just start talking. He asked me what I do. At the time, I'm doing some entertainment law work and other things. He's like, hey, you know, is there any way you could get some memorabilia for our Down syndrome society in central Indiana from some celebrities? You know, we raised money. I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's my email. Let me try. So he emails me. I get some stuff from the band Sister Hazel. I'd known from going to school in Gainesville. I get some stuff from Winona Judd. I get some stuff from Rascal Flatts. I get some stuff. I just email people and I say, hey, they're raising some money for Down syndrome. Can you help? And usually when you're trying to help people, most people are like, sure. Right. So I get some stuff. And then he says, thanks. I think that's the end of it. Like 3 months later, he sends me this story. He says, hey, don't share this. My wife wrote this about my son's experience playing T-ball in this community and what a beautiful experience it was for us and him and the community. It's being published in the paper. They live in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana, which I'd never heard of.
I used to live there.
Amazing, right? All right, there you go. So I read the story and I start crying, right? It's just as beautifully written, just a really human moment. I'm like, this is a great story. Okay. And I I don't think any more of it than that. I forwarded it to my dad and I forwarded it to my business partner. I just thought they'd appreciate it. And they don't even know how to use email at this point in life, right? Like they're bad at this game. They're both still on AOL basically, right? And so I just share this story and say, I don't say much like, hey, I thought you guys would appreciate it. Well, next thing I know, they've each forwarded it. Somehow they figured out how to forward things to like 20, 30 people each. And I'm getting all these, I'm like, this story's viral. Like literally this story is viral.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let me try to make this into a short documentary. I called his dad. Me and a crew show up in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana, spend 2 days there. And we made a short film called Jacob's Turn, a 7.5-minute short. And I entered it into one of the regional Emmy competitions. There's a bunch of different ways the Emmys work, and I got 2 nominations. And by the way, the first one that was called was for the film in the documentary topical or whatever category, and we lost. And I was like, so deflated because I'm like, well, damn, if this story doesn't win, I'll give up because this story is so human, it is so real, it is so. And then the directing category comes up, which I had learned, by the way, anytime you can enter more than one category, do it. It increases your odds of winning. And so my first Emmy nominations, I got 2, and I ended up winning for directing.
Wow.
And had it not been for winning that one, I don't know how disheartened I would have been. I probably would have tried again, but I really would have been stumped as to what made it happen or how does this, maybe this isn't for me. I don't know. And then my business partner was like, you should do more of this. And so we set off on sort of that became my career, was really to find the best stories in the world to share. But my real goal was to find stories of heart and hope, to find stories that inspired people, to find stories like, look, when I was playing tennis, my tennis coach, I was getting to the level of, I don't think I was as good as you, Ted. I got to like top 50 in the 16 and unders, and I peaked at about top 80 in the 18 and unders. Mm-hmm. And as you guys know, Florida's a tough state, but you ain't going pro in top 80, right? You're getting some college offers, but you're getting to the end of your rope, and it was fun. But my tennis coach is like, look, at this level, everybody's good physically. You're going to meet some freaks, but everyone's fit. Everyone's athletic. He's like, it's all a mind game from here on out. Here's a pirated set of Tony Robbins' CDs, which, by the way, I've personally apologized for now to Tony when I've interviewed him before a few times. And he was cool with it. But I was like, so I dig into this stuff. And as a kid with parents who I was given more love than we could spend, but money was tight a lot, right? And so I don't know what it takes if you've been abused or not loved well. Like I was always given the dream and possibility card because I always had like a soft landing of love. Money was tight, but love was there, right? So I wanted to help people who are in my position who how could I spread the knowledge and wisdom of the greatest, at the time too, particularly the greatest business minds, the greatest entrepreneurs, because we know, I ended up doing Peter Diamandis' story, and I've interviewed Tony 3 times. I did Jay Abraham's story, Joe Polish's story, Dan Sullivan's story. And I started out in business because that's what I knew. But those guys aren't just out to make money.
Did any of those get Emmys at all?
Yeah. Yep. And so
which ones?
I'll have to check the statues. I know Dan Sullivan's did. I think Jay Abraham's did. And then I started, once I got credibility, because I knew those people and I got in and did their stories. But I really want to share stories of inspiration and hope for basically free, for next to nothing, streaming online, so that those kids like me, or even adults or people who want to learn from the masters, like they could. I wanted to make movies that were like, you could spend 90 minutes with sitting at the foot of the master. So I made Brian Tracy's story. I made Jack Canfield's story. And then from there, I remember Peters was probably my biggest breakout. Peters, the founder of the X Prize, put the first private spaceships in space. Richard Branson buys it, makes it Virgin Galactic. I'd known Richard before, but for Peters' movie, I interviewed Tony Robbins, interviewed Richard Branson, I interviewed will.i.am. Like I'm Dean Kamen. I'm getting in, right? And so then, that's probably my first major one outside of just business. And then I met Rudy Rudiger, and Rudy was like, you should tell my story because it's actually better than what made it on the big screen for the movie Rudy. I'm like, I'm in. So I make Rudy's documentary, and now I'm making Dick Vitale's movie right now. I met Dickie V through Rudy. I've interviewed so far. I'm interviewing Kenny Chesney on Monday. I've interviewed every major basketball coach. I'm interviewing Shaq. I'm interviewing Barkley. I got LeBron James lined up. I'm getting texts from Chris Fowler from ESPN. It's like the weirdest thing about making movies has been the underlying thing the strategic byproduct is my network is now insane because because I think part of it, I did it for the right reasons. I was trying to help spread these messages of love and hope and inspiration. And when you make people look good, they like you. And so I just have this insane network now. So
yeah, Nick, you're fascinating, man. And there's a thing I want to point out here that's really interesting and get your perspective on it. Like, you're one of these people who goes for it, you know? And I think in the face of, there's a lot of people out there with talent. There's a lot of people out there with ability, but there's a unique ability that I see in you. You're like, you actually see something, you're like, I'm going to go for it. And you actually go for it. And so where does that, like, what would you say is the one or two qualities that you have that allow you to go for it while other people don't?
So I would say, I think where people really miss the mark is not putting it, like wanting a major result without putting in the work to learn how to get there. Right. So we see, like, the lottery is the best example ever. Like, I don't play the lottery because I don't want to win the lottery. It's proven just to ruin people's lives. Like, statistically proven, like 99% of people who win the lottery end up like dead, in jail, suicidal, kids with problem, like all that. Right. So like, I don't want to win the lottery. And the problem with the lottery is you get about an amount of money you didn't learn how to make and you didn't learn how to keep. It's dangerous. Right. So I think people expect these major outcomes and don't know what it takes. Or they'll shoot for the moon and they'll fail and they'll get totally blown up. Look, I've lost a lot of money, been nearly bankrupt, went to meet the bankruptcy attorney. Parts of that's parts of journey and part of life. But what I would say is, look, with what I do right now, it's sort of dangerous to look from the outside, and probably the same thing with you, Ted, probably the same thing with you, Michael. It looks like, all I do is, the song win, 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 no matter what. But it's like, look, we've all taken incremental risks along the way in our life, and like, calculated what works, what didn't work, where do we fall flat on our face, what, you only lose when you quit. Like, but how am I gonna, like, I didn't go out and say, you know what, I'm gonna mortgage my home to make my first film. I did not do that. I'm not telling someone, if that's your conviction, not to do it, but like, I've taken calculated risk and I've gotten to a point where I've failed a ton of times. I fail weekly. Like, I get no's all the friggin' time, but I've learned how to take a no because it's just, it's part of the journey. And so I've taken incremental risks and learned my skill set. And then now my brain sees like way bigger and more unlimited possibilities. Like, when I said, you know what, I'm gonna go put on a Broadway show. And I've never done this before. I had done enough other things where my brain knew that was really possible. And it wasn't just a punt. It was like, okay, I could build a team to do that. It's a risk, but let me minimize my risk. Let me defray my risk. Let me democratize my risk by bringing some other friends in who would help me invest in this, because I'm going to give them an experience of a lifetime of producing a Broadway show with Rudy if they'll come along for the ride with me. And I'm going to tell them, first of all, I'm not even going to take any investment dollars. To this point in my career, I've never taken a single investment dollar for a film. Now that will change, but I haven't figured out the monetary return that I'm comfortable with on a film yet. Like, and most of the time I just wanted to make the film because I wanted it out in the world. My goal was not to monetize the film. So I said, look, I just want to do this Broadway show. Like, and if you'll contribute, you're not investing. If you contribute, I will give you the experience of a lifetime. And I've delivered on that over and over and over for my clients because they continue to do things with me of that level. But so just to get back to your point, I took incremental risks to figure out, number one, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, where did I need help, who are people who who are ride or dies, who are people I take with me anywhere because they're gonna help me. They're going to play their part really well, and we're going to play together, and then let's grow together. Like, you'll find most everybody who works with me is either has catapulted me and we're still great friends and they're doing incredible things, or they're still with me. 5 to 10 years later, like, we've all grown together and we support each other. And whenever one of us is doing the next big thing, we call the others because we learned and grew together. And you weed out the a-holes real fast. Like, I've got a no a-hole rule, and you weed out the people who are really not in it to help other people. They're in it for themselves. You just weeded them out real quick. And you build a network of people who are willing to help you support your dream as long as you support theirs. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. You supported a lot of people, right, in doing what you're doing. I'm sure you've gotten some support along the way. Obviously, we all do. What, at this point in your life, for you, Nick Nanton, what is it that you need help on the most right now from other people?
I'm really, I would say the thing I need the most help with is I am now building a division that is going to be, so before I'd make a movie because I want to make it and I release it to the world because the world needs to see it. The problem is if you don't go through some of the other steps of film festivals and that's not the only avenue, but a bunch of other promotional steps and marketing steps to a film, no one knows it even exists. And I'm ADD, so I'm like, I made that movie. I'm ready to move on to the next one. So I'm currently working on building a division of my company. I just built a division called Astonish Entertainment. It's built on a Mark Twain quote, based on a Mark Twain quote. It's do right always. It will gratify some and astonish the rest. And so we are building a group with Astonish Entertainment where plan A is always going to be someone gives you a big check because you got lucky and you made a movie that fits the bill for a Netflix or a Hulu or an ESPN or whatever. Plan B is like, okay, if that doesn't happen, what are the other 10 steps we're going to do to make sure this movie gets out there? So I'm currently just really learning and building a network of people who are great at marketing and promoting and who want to help spread these messages as well. So I don't know even I have a direct ask, but I would say anybody, I'm obviously if I have a big following, as I grow and I learn what I need, I can share that with my list. So I would just say at this point, the best thing is, follow me on Instagram or, Twitter or Facebook at Nick Nanton, because I'm going to share what I'm doing. And I've learned, I've only gotten to where I am by collaborating with more and more great people. So I'm always just going to be looking for great collaborators. And then of course I'm always interested in great people who are doing great things. I get people reaching out to me all the time. If I can be of help, I'm willing to help, or if I can connect you with somebody that I think can help you, I will.
That's cool, man. As I'm listening to you, it's like picking up on one of the things that artists need the most, and you've done it on your level of success. And we created this podcast, Got Dreams. I don't know if you know the background of it, but we created this because I saw that artists lacked really in three things. One, they needed better skill sets, right? So how could they come and learn from somebody like Nick, like you, right? Who's got entrepreneurial skills, or who's got the skill sets of a songwriter or a producer or a director, right? So how could directors, writers, producers teach other people, and artists teach other people the skills? Because I think there is a lack of that in the world, where how do you pass on those skill sets? Number two, you said you couldn't stop there, because if artists don't have the marketing and the branding skills, then they're never going to get their message out to the world. And I look at what you've created, what I've created, we understand marketing and branding. Number three, we're teaching on money, digital currency today, because Web 3.0 is the future. So we have a faculty we've developed on that. And number four, probably most important, we're in the process of building out a peer-to-peer community of artists. Because you look at what you've done that's really sprung you up and others up around you, is you have a network. So most artists that I've interviewed and that I've been around, James Barber, Broadway star, amazing guy, and he's involved with us in doing this. And what we discovered is that there's no peer-to-peer platform that allows people to go, hey, I need somebody to help me on this project. I need a director, I need a writer, I need a producer, I need a songwriter. So we're in the process of developing that out. We're building it on the blockchain of Web 3.0. And we're creating a experience where people can earn while they learn, because we have a crypto fund associated with it. So while you learn on our platform, you're earning with us. You're learning from your heroes. You're learning skill sets. You're learning marketing. You're learning about digital currency, and you're connecting with other like-minded people to develop projects that actually get your art out of the world. And
Love it.
So when I listen to you, when I listen to top people around me, right, who are at the top of the game in their industries, one for one, it's the same. A different story, but the very same thing of success. They had a great network of people that they connect with. They developed some type of marketing skills, or were connected with people at marketing skills. They developed great abilities, unique abilities like you have. And somewhere there was money or financing in there that made the thing go, So we're on a mission right now to actually take these, successful people like you who are models, and how do we help the rest of the world who has dreams, who stopped when they were 6 years old or 9 years old or 10 years old, because they were going to get 10 cents on the dollar, and they came from a poor family, right? Or who stopped because somebody invalidated them and said, you can't do this. So there's such an opportunity, I think, with technology in the world, with marketing in the world, with digital currency in the world, and with other people helping other people and teaching skill sets, that we can truly create a movement that brings art to the forefront. Because as you know, I hear from you, hey, like you've created wealth and money, so you're like going back to let me do more of my art too along the way and do more and more of it, because art creates this inspiration and it lifts people up. So we need to get more of it out to the world to create a better world. And so I admire what you've done, because there's so few people that I've run into who have the gamut of, they have the entrepreneurial ability, they have the skill set as an artist, and they have the foresight of how do we put projects together and people together and money together to make it happen. It's a rare quality, man. So kudos to you on your accomplishments, bro.
Oh man, thank you. I'm blessed. You know, I would say this. Look, I mean, anybody out there who wants to learn something, wants to achieve more, I mean, literally find, and if you're stuck, whether it's financially or creatively, whatever, go serve someone else.
Yeah.
Like it could be when you serve people, opportunity will show up. And so I would just encourage to do more of that. I think a lot of times when people think about accomplishing their goals, they unintentionally start to get selfish about, like, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? What do I need to be working on? And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think that the only way I've accomplished what I've accomplished was way more people than me helping me. Mm-hmm. But it starts with you helping someone else first. And so if you're stuck, you don't know what to do next, just if you're depressed, if you're down, if you're like, go serve someone else, I guarantee you it will shift your world.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also like the nuggets that we're picking up from you right now of like how to go do something like that, to me, the greatest goal that an artist can pass on, right? That I actually believe is a responsibility to their fan base. It's not even something that they should do. It's something that I think they must do. You know, you talk about merch being a big thing. Great. Merch is a great moneymaker, but you wear something and you throw it in the closet after a year or two, or maybe you hang it on your wall. But we created Got Dreams because artists need to pass on the skill set, and they need to pass on their success and go, here's how I did it. Like for you, I'm not sure if you created a product on this yet, but how I created an Emmy, how I got an Emmy. What a great product. You know how many people want to know that, you know? And so that would sell like hotcakes in the world, because there's so many people even at the top of their game that are still waiting to win that. And you've won 22 at the top of your game. That's a phenomenal thing to pass on. So I think there's just so much gold. I mean, I'm listening to you. Oh my God, there's like 7 products that this guy can pass on to the world right now that you're already sharing right now, giving your information. But this to me is the new currency, right? For artists, the new currency is there's not enough artists, which is why we created Got Dreams, who have success and they package it and they pass it on. We see it with the coaches, we see it with the consultants, we see it with this, but what's the most important, I think, industry in the world to me is art, because it vibrates at such a level that it frees people for that moment to where they can kind of get inspired and go, maybe I can do this thing too. And then they go, well, how do I do it? Okay, here's the course, here's the network, here's the money. So good job, man. Keep on doing what you're doing. I can't wait to see what you come out with next. But I learned a lot just listening to you. I could interview you for another 2 hours to learn for myself, but I'll let you go.
Well, thanks for having me, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, you're awesome, man. Where can people find you about your podcast? Anything you want to give away for free, or your Instagram handle? Where can people find you?
Yeah. Instagram at Nick Nanton is probably the best place, or I have a Facebook page. If you guys want, I'm happy to give a copy of my audiobook and PDF, my book, Story Selling, which really talks about how to build your brand story. By the way, I just say a brand is just a story. Branding is just storytelling. And a great brand is a story other people want to share for you. So we share that in the book. They can email my agency, just info@celebritybrandingagency.com, and just say, hey, Nick said to give me the PDF and the audio of Story Selling, and I'll send it right to you.
Awesome, man. You're awesome, buddy. Well, dude, you're an inspiration, dude. Really, seriously. It's awesome to see what you've done across categories. You know, to me, that's the test of a true visionary and successful person. They can do it cross boundaries, and you've done it. So I know it doesn't come without trials sometimes and headaches and heartaches, but that's the juicy stuff that people want to hear, because that inspires people. So congrats, buddy. It's been a pleasure reconnecting with you, dude, and learning more about you, man. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks for having me on, man. I look forward to doing it again.
You got it, brother. Take
Thanks,
care, man.
Nick. Bye-bye. That was absolutely amazing. I think one of the most impactful things that I learned from that was storytelling. Everything began with a story. When he started researching the Emmy, when he was trying to figure out how to create something special, it all came back to the story. And that's something that you've been teaching for quite a while to entrepreneurs. And I love the fact that now you're bringing it to artists.
Yeah, and we should post it in our Facebook group of just today. Who wants a copy of it, for whatever it was? Let's find it out. And if they want it, we should figure out a way to get people to book, because we'll probably get a couple hundred people who want it.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll set that up today. Ted, it's always a pleasure. Make sure if you want to learn more, if you want to be a part of this Got Dreams process, if you want to be a part of this movement, make sure you smash that like button down below, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. Make sure you become a subscriber so we can start getting this information out to you every single week.
Oh yeah,
Ted,
and you can just I mean, you listen. I mean, the interview after interview, person after person that I talk to, like, Got Dreams is the universal solution for artists all across the world, for artists who've given up on their dreams, for professionals who want more creativity in their life. Like, this will be the thing that actually makes a huge impact in the world. So I'm excited to interview more and more people in here, because we have the solution. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, what a pleasure, Ted. Thanks so much.
Yeah, total pleasure. Cheers.
Bye-bye.